Today on the show, consistency is key, and politicians in America have almost none of it at the moment. 2020 is going to be interesting.
Welcome to the future, where the glass is half full and you'll need new glasses, where you'll be jumping from conclusions.
The past is null, and a new future is born.
Never before in history has so much meant so little to so many.
So I wanted to talk to you today about consistency. All those old adages you hear about consistency, stay the course, slow and steady wins a race. There's real truth to all of these things. Consistency is a powerful tool. Consistency, it's not instant. It doesn't work for you quickly. It doesn't give you the results that you want overnight. But consistency will, more often than not, get you there. And by stark contrast, a lack of consistency is, oftentimes a surefire way to go nowhere. And it's that lack of consistency on both sides of the political fence that's going to make the 2020 election a very interesting thing. This is why we're popping the popcorn. There's a lack of consistency everywhere you look. More on that in a little bit. But you know what? You and I have been talking a lot, I suppose, about health and fitness recently. And the reason why is this. On January 4th, I posted a picture on Instagram. And it was 1 year to the day, January 4th, since I'd stepped into the gym. Now, we don't have to rehash the old territory, but, you and I have been talking a lot about health and fitness recently because I believe, as do you, judging by the flood of emails and social media and feedback I've gotten on this, I believe that exercise has a tremendous ability to help you master your mind. If you're looking for an easy, simple way to fight depression, exercise will do it. We've talked a lot about this. We've talked about how my shrink gave me a choice between serotonin reuptake inhibitors and exercise, and urge that I go with exercise, and how it can really, really mentally change you overnight. Exercise makes an instant difference. But I posted this picture on Instagram, January 4th, which was taken, there was a before and after, 1 year to the day, since I'd stepped into the gym for the first time in 4 years. If you missed that show, after my shrink had told me that I could fight depression with exercise, I was pretty consistent about being in the gym. And it helped me kind of master my mind. But then life changed. I got a middle management job. I got all these responsibilities. I wasn't able to make it to the gym as often. I sort of forgot. And I sank into a really gradual but very deep depression. And it got to the point where I was dreading every single day. So I got into the gym. And I spent a year in there. And so, and this does come back around to consistency. Stay with me on this one. I posted this picture on Instagram January 4th, 365 days after getting back into the gym for the first time in 4 years. Now, these mental changes, they happened overnight. Almost immediately, the fog, the depression started to clear. I felt some shred of hope. Physical changes took time, though. If you look at this picture, me before, me after, there's a dramatic difference. Why? Because I'm 50 pounds lighter, and I can bench about 100 pounds more. And immediately I got flooded with all sorts of people going, "What are you doing? What kind of crazy ass diet are you on? What sort of insane workout program have you been doing?" And, I've been sending people, and if you want it, I can totally send it to you. At ADSXE is where you can find me on Twitter and Instagram, or you can email me, ad@iheartradio.com. I can send you the program, the exercise and nutrition thing that I've been doing, and maybe you get something out of it. Hashtag not a doctor, not a trainer, don't really know what I'm doing. I just know what worked for me. But the training program that I undertook was very simple. It takes about 45 minutes, 3 times a week. Not a lot of fancy stuff. The nutrition program that I got myself on was really just taking care that I exercised, I burned more calories than I ate. But there's this dramatic difference. And so many people looked at picture 1 and picture 2 of this post on Instagram and went, what have you been doing? And I have to admit, this was the most growth, the most difference I'd ever seen in myself from one year to the next. I think everybody online likes to call it a transformation. But I really didn't do anything all that crazy. I just made sure I did it. I set it up so it was easy. 45 minutes a day, 3 or so times a week. If I missed a day, it wasn't the end of the world. But I stayed consistent. And I lost 50 pounds. I'm a little embarrassed telling you that because, well, I didn't like to think I allowed myself to get to the point where I had 50 pounds to lose, but I lost 50 pounds. And people went, how on earth did you lose 50 pounds? That's crazy. I've got friends that have been yo-yo dieting for years. And I was like, nothing fancy. I just burned more calories than I ate. And like, but how fast did you lose it? I was like, well, I lost 50 pounds. And it took me about a year. So I'm sure some weeks were more than others, but there's 52 weeks in a year. I lost 50 pounds. I lost a little less than a pound a week for a year straight. And it was easy to do. I could still be gluttonous over the Thanksgiving and Christmas holidays. I could still eat what I wanted on my birthday when there was cake and all of the above. It didn't involve denial. It didn't involve supplements or shakes or some sort of extreme program. It wasn't focused on losing weight at all. I just wanted to be healthy. And like I said, I've got friends that have been in and out of the gym, in and on and off of these weird, interesting, different diet plans for years and years, that are uppy downy all over the place, really quickly will lose 25 pounds and put on 35. And, well, the power I found, and I've never had this more clearly illustrated to myself, was in the consistency. Committing to do just a little bit. Not even every single day. Do a little bit every single week. Every other day, I did a little bit. I ate in a very slight calorie deficit, as the nutrition-y folks would call it, meaning that, I ate a little bit less than I burned every single day. I lost a little less than a pound a week for 52 weeks. And I almost didn't notice it as it was happening. But from January 4th to January 4th of 2018 to 2019, I became a different person. Consistency, my friend, will get you there. Consistency is key. Consistency is the magic pill. And consistency is what both political parties are lacking like crazy at the moment, and it's gonna be interesting.
Real radio.
104.1.
Where the left and right come together for fundamental truths. AD on the radio, on Twitter at ADSXE.
So like you and I were saying, consistency is everything. Consistency will get you there. Consistency is key. Consistency is that magic pill. It's like the diet and exercise thing we were talking about earlier. There is a way better chance, if you've got 20 pounds to lose, of you losing that 20 pounds and keeping it off, if you do things in a consistent, measured, easy to maintain manner. If you're doing this thing where you are going to some kind of crazy extreme in terms of diet or exercise to lose that 20 pounds, well, there's a very good chance that even if you do lose it, you're not going to be able to maintain. But if you're gentle on yourself, if you just try and be a little bit better every single week when you go into the gym, lift a little bit more, do one more rep, just constantly try to improve a little bit, and you stick with it without going to extremes, without killing yourself, without going to some sort of bananas, I'm going to train like an athlete that's also a elite member of our military exercise program, as so many people do, well, you're going to get there. And you're probably going to stay there. It just makes everything easier and simpler and more achievable. I look at a guy like Henry Rollins as a bit of a roadmap in life sometimes, because this is a guy that has made a life out of doing the things that he wanted to do. If you're not familiar with Henry Rollins, he was a lead singer in this punk rock band called Black Flag. And then he had a solo career, and then he mostly just became a writer and a talker. And he is, I guess, one of the biggest ticket sellers when it comes to this medium called spoken word. It's not quite stand-up comedy. It's not quite storytelling. It's just him getting up on stage and talking. And he built this incredible thing over the past 30 or so years, where he can go to towns all over the world and people will show up to hear him talk. And you know what it started as? It started as years and years ago when he was a broke guy in a band. Some promoter said, hey, I'll give you like $10 if you get up on stage and talk for like 15 minutes or however long it was. And he did it. And he was like, oh, I'm going to do that again. And he kept doing it again and doing it again. He didn't really have big expectations. He didn't go into it that first time going, there will come a day where I can fill theaters around the globe with thousands of people that are hanging on my every word. He just kind of kept at it. Kept improving, kept talking for a little bit longer, kept growing his audiences by a few people here and there. And when he started a publishing company, he started with literally a pamphlet. He photocopied some pages, he folded and stapled them, and he mailed them out to people that were willing to send him a money order for something. That was how his publishing company began. And now he publishes books by authors from all over the world. And it's interesting, if you look at a guy like that, again, that regularity, that consistency plays into his success so much. Like I said, I look at Henry Rollins as a bit of a roadmap in many ways. And, well, here's a guy who's done a whole bunch of things that a lot of people could only dream of doing. And he'll tell you, it's not because he's smarter. It's not because he's more talented. It's not because he was a better singer than anyone else. He straight up will tell you he really couldn't sing. But he had some stuff on his mind, some stuff to say, and he was a good front man, and he just kind of put himself out there over and over again until it got good, until people started showing up, until he knew what he was doing. And he'll tell you, it was the constant, measured effort that he put into all these things that he was passionate about doing that got him there in the end. Anyways, that consistency, that ability to stay the course, that ability to incrementally improve a little bit every time over a long period of time, to not want everything right now, to not want everything instantly, to not demand results and satisfaction within the first week or you're out. This is something that politicians on both sides of the fence are suffering from at the moment. I mean, look, will there be someone that challenges Trump? A lot of people are saying Mitt Romney is being urged by a lot of different people to run for president in 2020, to challenge Donald Trump for the Republican nomination. Who the hell knows? That's a whole big question mark. But, you know, Donald Trump has split the Republican Party in two. Although really the Republicans are kind of stoked to be in power, and Donald Trump's record has been a little bit more uniformly conservative than a lot of conservatives were worried it was going to be. So as much as they might be never Trumpers, they kind of like the idea of being in control, having that power. And so the divide on the right is not as pronounced as it was when he got into office. And it's not as pronounced as the divide on the left. The left, whew. You want to talk about struggling for consistency. You want to talk about an identity crisis. You want to talk about the race for the nomination going to be lit AF, as the kids say. Good grief. There's all sorts of examples of them tearing each other down. Like I said, it's a consistent lack of messaging. If there's one thing they're consistent about, and by the way, if you've listened to the show for any length of time, you know I'm not on anyone's side. I view Democrats and Republicans as Coke and Pepsi. bubbly sugar water that's not that good for you that I try and avoid drinking too much of in any situation. But if you're voting for a Democrat, or if you want to vote Democrat, it's going to be very difficult to tell exactly what you're voting for. I mean, the idea of the Affordable Care Act, the idea of Obamacare, that was the rallying cry of the Democratic Party pretty recently. Now, one of the guys that attempted to install it, or did install it, Biden, he's busy talking smack about it and tearing it down. And I think one of the most interesting about faces for the Democrats was the way Beto O'Rourke went from being their absolute hero to being almost universally reviled overnight, it would seem. He lost to Ted Cruz, and he went off on a bit of a soul-searching trip, which he kind of documented on Instagram. And, well, all of a sudden there were people on the left going, this is something that a woman of color could never do, soul-searching trip. Beto O'Rourke's excellent adventure. He's too white, he's too male, he is too privileged to speak for us. He is no longer our hero. I mean, the moment he lost to Ted Cruz, people were going, good, he can run for president in 2020. That's better. It's better he lost to Ted Cruz. He can be our president. And then a month later, no, he's too white. He's too privileged. He's too male. Absolutely not. And like I said, because of a lack of consistency, the race for the Democratic nomination is going to be, as the kids say, lit AF. Kirsten Gillibrand told an Iowa crowd at a private dinner that Beto was selfish for not sharing any of his 2018 fundraising haul with down-ballot Democrats. Yeah, it's from the Wall Street Journal, but they said that Gillibrand recently attended a private dinner with lawmakers in Iowa, where people say that she complained that Beto O'Rourke didn't give her any of his cash. Yeah, she said that Beto should have shared some of the money that he raised in 2018 during his failed Senate effort. Gillibrand and a number of other Democrats believe that Beto should have made it rain, should have shared the wealth, the $80 million he raised to help other candidates in tight races. If he was really for the people, if he was really for the cause, he wouldn't be so selfish with his money. If and when Beto enters the race, the field Democrats, who have already announced, are all going to turn their guns on him, and no doubt there's going to be, well, like I said, it will be lit AF. But it's interesting. All of a sudden, he's too white, he's too privileged, he's too male, and he didn't give us any of his money that he raised. What the hell, man? What a traitor to the cause. Like I said, if you are a Democrat going into 2020, it's going to be very hard to tell who and what you're voting for. And that is the lack of consistency that could wind up torpedoing their whole effort.
For more stimulation and less irritation, 9 out of 10 doctors choose KPRC AM 950, Houston's more stimulating talk radio.
Don't get the blues, get all the news. We mean all of you guys out there in Radioland.
All aboard!
He's back. AD on the radio.
You know, these are glaring inconsistencies that we see on the left. In the Democratic Party, we see these things that stick out like a sore thumb. Beto's great. Beto's too white, too male, and too privileged to be our president. He doesn't speak for all of us. He went on an excellent adventure. He's soul-searching. If he was a woman of color, he would never have this luxury. How could he possibly speak for us? The Affordable Health Care Act is great. Obamacare works. Obamacare is terrible. We need to move towards single payer. We need to have this Medicare for all thing. Got to get rid of Obamacare. That's the problem. Weren't you the people that were installing it a couple of years ago, telling us how great it was? Yes, but... So these stick out like a sore thumb, and they're sort of a big deal. But an even bigger deal, I think, is the growing concern within the Democratic Party of anti-Semitism on the left. Now, look, Politics morph and change over time. This is why I don't believe in registering as a Republican or a Democrat. This is why I don't believe in the fact that you have to be registered as a Republican or a Democrat or something to take part in the primaries. This whole, we're Republicans, kid, we vote this way. We're Democrats, kid, we vote this way. This political tradition that's passed down from father to son, mother to daughter, and all of the above. It's just a giant fallacy. It's a mistake. It's politicians wanting to remove critical thinking from our political process so our votes and our campaign finance contributions are easier to get. And, you know, we've talked about this on the show a couple different times, but I'm reminded of it because of this growing concern that some Democrats have that the Democratic Party is becoming significantly more anti-Semitic. The linchpin being what's going on in the Middle East between Israel and Palestine. But I remember the moment it dawned on me that party politics were kind of a crock, and that year after year you had to examine and re-examine the people and the policies that you were voting for. Because I think when I talked to my dad about it, he said one of the first real memories he has of politics was Kennedy being elected. Now, John F. Kennedy, as we've discussed a little bit on this show, had a problem when he was running as a Democrat. And that was securing the black vote. Why was securing the black vote a problem for John F. Kennedy? I mean, now if people are going to paint with broad strokes and subscribe to stereotypes, if you're not white, there's a better chance you're going to be a Democrat. Horrible that skin color should be a predictor of political allegiances, but nevertheless, there it is. Anyways, the idea of a Democrat having a hard time locking up the black vote seems crazy to us now because of the political landscape. But like I said, when I was talking to my dad about what he remembered about the Kennedy election, it was very interesting. Kennedy had a problem getting the black vote. Why? Because at the time, being a Democrat was very closely associated with being a member of the Klan. Yeah, the KKK, they were all Democrats. Traditionally speaking, Klan members were Democrats. Therefore, well, a black person wasn't going to vote Democrat. And basically, Kennedy got around this whole situation or corrected this whole situation, or however you want to look at it. But Kennedy, what he had to do about this was he got Martin Luther King out of some hot water. He got him out of jail, is what he did. He freed him from behind bars. But up until that point, if you were a Democrat, there's a very good chance that you were going to be associated with the KKK. Or, okay, maybe not that, but if you were in the KKK, you were definitely going to be associated with being a Democrat. And this is in our lifetime. This is like my father's lifetime. So that's how much things change and shift. And speaking of changing and shifting, the idea that anti-Semitism could exist on the left seems like an absolutely foreign concept. But nevertheless, here we are in 2020. There's this group called the Democratic Majority for Israel. They're led by this guy, Mark Mellman. He's a Democrat pollster. And he's hooked up with Jennifer Granholm, who, if you've spent any time in Michigan, you might recognize as a former governor, and former Clinton administration housing secretary, Henry Cisneros. I think I'm pronouncing his name right. Anyways, the reason why they formed this group, the Democratic Majority for Israel, is because they're worried about anti-Semitism in the Democratic Party. It's a weird thing. It's a weird place we find ourselves in 2019. And so much of it has to do with the conflict between Israel and Palestine. But Mellman said they want to, quote, make sure the anti-Israel sentiment among Democrats doesn't metastasize into a bigger problem. Like I said, who would have thunk it in the year 2019 that a big concern for people among the Democratic Party would be anti-Semitism among their ranks? Again, if you're going to observe stereotypes, that would seem to be a problem of the right. But no. The times, they are different. And this is why it's so important to inspect and reinspect who you're voting for. Because the identity of a political party can surreptitiously change without you even having time to keep up with it. Like I said, Kennedy had to get around the fact that the Klan was almost irrevocably associated with the Democratic Party. And now it seems like Democrats who are Jewish might have a very real identity crisis on their hands, politically speaking. When I talk to my Jewish friends about it, they're aware of it. And like I said, the linchpin of the whole situation is the conflict between Israel and Palestine. The New York Times points out that the Democrats' pro-Israel wing has been jolted by election of a pair of high-profile freshmen. Representatives Ilhan Omar of Minnesota and Rashida Tlaib of Michigan. Now, I wouldn't go as far as calling them anti-Israel, but they support the boycott, the divestment, and sanctions against Israel. If you're a Democrat and you've got strong feelings about Israel and you're Jewish and you hear the right going, we're pro-Israel, we're a friend of Israel, we're pro-Israel, Netanyahu's the bomb, this is who we are. Meanwhile, the people in your own party are going, boycott Israel, sanctions against Israel. You got some decisions to make come election time. It's complicated. I'm not getting into the brouhaha in the Middle East. That is many shows in and of itself. The interesting part, the part that is going to make the run-up to the election in 2020 and the observation of who secures the Democratic nomination, lit AF, is all of this. This is happening at home. And like I said, consistency. Consistency will get you there. But when you have an identity crisis, when you have factions springing up in your own party, which has traditionally been the party of people of the Jewish faith, which has traditionally been the party of people that are pro-Israel, when you have factions springing up in your own party that are concerned about anti-Semitism within Democratic ranks, things just got really kind of out there and interesting. In not a very good way. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has called the occupation of Palestine a humanitarian crisis, while Washington Representative Pramila Jayapal, I think I'm pronouncing that right, criticized Israel's use of force against Palestine's protesters. Melman says their group would also fight against attempt by congressional Democrats to forward legislation for boycott, divestment, and sanctions on Israel. The movement is gaining popularity within the party, and particularly with the freshman crop of Democrats. So there you have it. If you're a Democrat in 2019, getting ready for the 2020 election, what exactly are you voting for? Who exactly are you voting for? It's not anywhere near as clean cut as it used to be. And this is something that could in a very, very real and meaningful way, torpedo the Democrats' chance of unseating Trump in the next election. That being their fondest wish, they could shoot themselves in the foot. They could fumble at the one. They could just arrive at the big debate, a hot mess that can't get it together in and of themselves. Like I said, consistency is key, and right now, that is nowhere to be seen on the left.
Now, more AD on the radio.
So, in the time that you and I have left, we'll take a look at the events of today in our segment, My Witness News. First, though, I wanted to discuss this idea that people are going to be reproducing like crazy this coming Sunday. The NFL, I don't know whether you've seen it or not, but the NFL has started taking credit for a spike in births 9 months from the day of the big game. Yes, the NFL is sort of going, oh, yeah, the population, we're responsible for that. You're welcome. And I have a hard time buying into it, and I was going to discuss why, but you know what? Legendary comic Justin McKinney articulated it so much better.
Got 2 kids. They're not Super Bowl babies, though. We all know what Super Bowl babies are. If you've seen the commercial the last couple of years during the Super Bowl, apparently 9 months after the time of the Super Bowl, there's a rise in births. So the NFL put out this commercial, showing, these are all the babies born 9 months after this year's Super Bowl. This is how old they are now. So the NFL's taking credit for this. Like, mom and dad are watching the Super Bowl. They get horny. They go into the bedroom, have sex. 9 months later, there's a baby. Okay, first of all, do you know what other day happens within a week of the Super Bowl every year? Valentine's Day, exactly. I think that's when married guys are getting laid. Ladies, is there any day a man is less attractive than Super Bowl Sunday? Ooh, beer breath and buffalo farts. I gotta have that. I can't keep my hands on. I love the way your belly sticks out under that replica jersey. Woo. You look just like Tom Brady with your old deflated balls.
Alrighty then, time now for a look at the events of today in our segment, My Witness News. Did you, oh man, this is an interesting one. Did you hear about the scientific discovery that was recently made thousands of feet beneath layers of ice? This is being looked at as a bit of an X-Files moment. What was discovered? Well, scientists recently found the remains of tiny unidentified creatures 4,000 feet below the ice sheet. Yeah, 4,000 feet below the ice sheet, which means it's been there for a very, very long time. They've discovered the remains of tiny unidentified creatures. And some people, like I said, this is where it gets a little bit X-Filesy. Some people are calling it evidence of prehistoric alien life forms existing on Earth. Me, not so much. I fall into that I would love to believe category, but I haven't found anything compelling enough to make me believe. I don't think it's alien life. But I do think that we might now know what Santa does to elves who try and unionize. Ooh. Question for you. What do you think the dumbest item of clothing you could wear on your head is? Like, what's the dumbest item of clothing you could wear on your head? Only because whatever you're thinking, whatever you're picturing at the moment, I guarantee you that a member of the Kardashian family topped it this past week just gone by. Yeah. A member of the Kardashian family left the house with this on their head, and, well, the internet lost its collective mind. What was it? Well, because you and I tackle big and important issues around here. Let's discuss, shall we? It was Khloe Kardashian. Khloe Kardashian was spotted with a Kanye West for President hat. Yeah, Khloe Kardashian spotted with a Kanye West for President hat. Huh. Why be seen in public with something that embarrassing? Shame on you, hat. See what I did there? Classic misdirection. You're welcome. So, man, if you are under the impression that everything is getting more expensive by the minute, you are right, and this is proof. Did you see which everyday item is shooting up in price? Like I said, if you feel like everything's getting more and more pricey by the day, it turns out you are correct, and this would be a great example of that. The post office has issued the biggest price hike on stamps in the history of the post office. Yeah. Since the advent of mail, this is the biggest price hike in the cost of a stamp like ever. Oh, by the way, for anyone under the age of 30, a stamp is something people used to put on these things called letters that they would stick in this contraption called a mailbox never mind. We'll just text. Did you hear how cops recently caught the most unfortunate drug thief ever? Yeah. How'd they catch him? What made him so unfortunate in the first place? Well, because it's fun to laugh at the expense of bad people having a lousy time. This thief in Florida thought he was making off with a whole bunch of opioid painkillers. Yeah. Thief in Florida, drug thief, thought he was stealing a bunch of opioid painkillers. He promptly swallowed a bunch of them. What he didn't realize is that he'd stolen laxatives. Yes. A brand that promises gentle overnight relief. So cops caught him fairly easily. Because, I'm assuming he left a trail. This is an interesting one. The uncrashable car. Did you hear which car manufacturer has gone on the record saying they think they can build an uncrashable car? Who is it, and how do you make a car uncrashable? Well, it's Mercedes, and Mercedes say that they believe they can build a car capable of avoiding crashes. And not only that, they're going to be releasing a prototype of the uncrashable Mercedes in the not-too-distant future. Apparently, it's going to use this advanced self-driving system and collision protection to create the ultimate safety vehicle. And I think with this particular Mercedes, if it gets hit rather than crash and break, this Mercedes bends. Ooh. Have you ever tried this? I could never bring myself to do it. Did you hear which type of alternative medicine is going mainstream? Yeah, a type of alternative medicine is going mainstream. Now, this is a practice that in the past has been viewed as kind of out there, pretty exotic, but because it's proven to be a viable alternative to addictive opioid painkillers, this way of dealing with pain is about to become as common, some doctors think, as popping an aspirin. And again, I've never done it. I have friends that swear by it, but I just can't bring myself to try it, only because I can't stand needles. We are, of course, talking about acupuncture. Yeah, acupuncture, the insertion of very thin needles through your skin at strategic points to manage pain, is on the rise. And like I said, some doctors say that it's about to become as common as popping an aspirin. Yeah. Apparently, it's a viable alternative to opioid painkillers. And for that reason, I suppose doctors who have been recommending acupuncture up until now, well, we should probably take a moment to congratulate them on a jab well done. Ooh, did you hear which kind of car the government is looking to ban? Yeah, the government is looking to ban a type of car. You could be cruising down the road in one of these right now, and the government could be looking to take it from you. They've already banned this type of car in some states, and apparently this might happen all over America. What is it? Will it affect you? It's the stretch limousine. Yeah, lawmakers are looking to ban stretch limos over safety concerns. Apparently, they're just sort of... stretch limos, and I don't know anything about the science of it, but stretch limos have been involved in enough horrific accidents to the point where lawmakers are like, yeah, no, those are a bad idea. We can't have them on the road anymore. Of course, the people who are really upset about this are limo drivers who have invested in stretch limos. They're super mad, only because, well, these limo drivers, if the ban happens, they will have spent a lot of money on their cars and they'll have nothing to chauffeur it. All right. How much time do we have? We got time for one more, I think. Did you hear what this is an interesting one. Did you hear what economists are saying is going to be the next big business boom in America? If you like creating things and you like the outdoors, this could be your opportunity to cash in. Yeah. Economists are saying that the timber and wood business is set to explode. We're building things and that requires wood, and apparently the timber and wood business is really set to boom for people that have built a more ecologically friendly timber business. How does one build a more environmentally friendly wood and timber business? Well, I think if you're looking to get into the wood and timber business, the best move is to start slow and then build it up, whittle by whittle. That is it for me. Thank you so much for hanging. I'll be back soon. We'll do it all over again. Have a great one.